Hi there, and welcome to the Future Olympian. My name is Andrea Clow. I'm the owner and trainer here, and today we're going to be taking a deep dive into what does breathing look like for the rider. So, on average, anyone can breathe from about 20,000 times a day. That's insane. Like, we don't even think about that we breathe 20,000 times a day. We don't. It's just this obscene number that someone has counted and they've like found this average and they're like, okay, this is what the average person breathes a day. And as a athlete, yes, we're all athletes. All of us who ride horses, we're athletes. We're moving our body and we're having to perform at an optimal state to become a better rider and to create a better horse. So it is optimal and it is in our best interest to learn how to breathe correctly, because a lot of times when we get up on our horse and we sit up there and our subconscious mind goes, holy crap, I'm sitting on a 1,200-pound animal. My feet are not touching the ground. He is in complete control of my body. And I don't know what the heck I'm going to do if something happens. This is what our subconscious mind automatically goes to in this kind of situation. And it's scary, it's frightening. And what happens is when we get into that tension, we find that tension, whether it's at a show or just getting on the horse or going down the trail, when we find that tension, we also change our breathing. So we begin to breathe more shallow into the body. So it is super important that we continue to learn how to breathe effectively. And a lot of us don't even breathe effectively on a day-to-day basis. We breathe up here, and that's not optimal for our sport. It's not optimal for any sport. It's not optimal for any human being. Guess it gets us through the day, and it gives us our body's oxygen and that exchange that it needs of oxygen and carbon dioxide. But it doesn't aid in how things are going to go effectively and to keep ourselves calm in this instance. So what do we need to do? What do we need to learn? How do we begin to change this and channel it? So first we have to have this understanding that the second our body becomes tense and we start to breathe differently, so more shallow than we already do, our muscles become tense, and tension leads to weakness. So we cannot perform at our optimal state of being if our muscles are weak, correct? Correct. So we don't want to have this gripping effect because we're trying to change what is going on with the horse. We don't want to have our body out of alignment. We don't want to have our stability compromised. We don't want any of that stuff to go out the window because we need that, especially on a 1,200-pound animal that could do anything it wants to at any given moment. So it is very, very important that we learn to correctly control that breathing so that we begin to interact with our entire body. So it really grounds our body into the horse and into ourselves to the point that we have a more stable position in the saddle or on the horse. So as we're channeling in this breathing, what we also want to do is we want to think about our center of gravity. So what happens is the more anxious and the more tense we become, the more our center of gravity moves from our hip area and our abdominal area up to the top of our body. So all of a sudden, it's like if someone came and pushed you over, you'd fall right over. Now, if your center of gravity is lowered into your stomach area and that lower abdominal, then someone comes and pushes you over, you're not going to fall over. It's going to take a lot more effort for them to push you over in that instance. So we want to make sure that we're lowering that and taking our breath and just lowering it and picturing that coming into our abdominals. So the art of good breathing and how we become good breathers, we have to learn what is the best way to breathe. So the optimal way to breathe is actually through your nose. So when we breathe through our mouth, we actually get more oxygen than our bodies really need. And that is it's not exactly the best thing, because if we're getting too much oxygen, then all of a sudden we're putting our body into a spot of, it kind of feels, it might be like, oh, lightheaded, it might be too much blood flow. It's just not optimal. It's not optimal for our bodies at all. So if you can, breathing in and out through your nose, even breathing in through your nose and letting it out through your mouth, it begins to slow it down. Because when we mouth breathe, we can go, and that changes our entire being. That does not allow for this deep breath to come in. So I want you to go ahead and place one hand on your chest and one on your stomach area. You can't see my hand, but hopefully you get the idea of where I'm talking here. And I want you to just take a few minutes and think about, how does this feel? How does this breathing feel? Do I breathe really fast? Do I breathe really full? What moves more, my top hand or my lower hand? What is going on with my overall breathing? And I want you to see where that looks like, and making this a part of your daily goal, and really do it when you're in this calm state of mind already. Learn to breathe optimal. When we learn to breathe, or to acknowledge what our calm breathing looks like and what it looks like when we're in the most relaxed state that we can be in, we can start to replicate that throughout our lives. So when we get in tense situations, how can we begin to replicate that breathing? So one of the best practices that I've found is just, once you take notice, once you are aware of how your breathing looks when you're calm and when you're tense, and even just subconsciously telling yourself, okay, where am I at in my breathing right now? How do I rate my overall feeling? Do I feel calm? Do I feel stressed? Where is that on a range from 1 to 10? So when I start to deep dive into that and start to acknowledge and notice, then I can start to change. So let's put ourselves in a tense situation. Let's say we're going in front of a group of judges. Okay, now that you know how you breathe when you're calm, how can you replicate that breathing over to when you're anxious? So we can start by just taking a seat, taking a spot. And if we do this off the horse first, we're going to become better at doing it on the horse. So if we can sit there and go, okay, I'm relaxed, I'm calm, I'm taking a long, deep breath through my nose, and I'm letting it out through my nose or my mouth, okay? And we want to make it a goal that if we're placing our hand on our chest and our stomach, that the lower hand that is on our stomach, on our abdominals, is coming out more. It's moving more. We want to fill that rib cage. We want to start from the very lowest. So when we begin to fill that abdominal range, that abdominal, we want to start by filling the very lower abdomen and then come up through the middle portion, so of your lungs and of your lungs there. So the middle portion, and then fill your chest. Now, if we're breathing incorrectly and we're breathing extremely shallow, we're going to raise our shoulders. And that is going to ruin our stability, and that is going to change our hands and how relaxed they are in the movement. So it's important that we start by filling the abdomen and moving the breath up. Now, another thing you can do, if it's kind of challenging to breathe into that lower, think of your center of gravity, that ball of energy that sits in your abdomen. Breathe into that. Think of, okay, I'm going to breathe into that area and I'm going to allow this energy to just expand and then come back down. So I picture it as like this light getting really bright as it's expanding, and then it comes back down as it reduces. And as you're breathing, so you can do You can inhale for a count of 6, hold it for 2 seconds, and then let it out for 9. So you're coming in at 6, filling that abdomen, hold for 2, and then let it out for 9. And as you do this, say to yourself, as I breathe out, I release all tension from my body. As I breathe out, I release all tension from my body. This is going to help you really, really feel like you are connected with yourself and your horse. This is going to help you come down into this way of breathing so that you can connect. And as you go through the movements, as you ride a test, as you're in the arena, as you're riding, your breathing controls his breathing. He will respond to how you breathe. So it is important that you stay in control of it. One of the things I really, really enjoy practicing is as I'm doing my transitions, each transition is a breath out. So he's ready, he's prepared. Because we should always ride every transition as is in it is an up transition. So if we're riding it up or we're riding it down, we're allowing for that breath to be our release of sinking our seat down into the saddle. So when we breathe out, we sink our seat down into the horse's back and we become more connected through that back. And then we can give that half halt and say, okay, this is what we're doing here. This is what we're doing here. So if you're going into walk to canter, as you come down, you wait for that hind end to come forward, you breathe out and you cue. Simple. Now it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take practice. But just like anyone has said, is horses, they follow the heartbeat of everyone around them. They're so in tune to everything going around them that they're even more in tune to you because you're on top of them. So the more in control you are of your breath, of your tension, of your weight, your relaxation, the more in control of your horse you are. And that is your key to riding. All right, guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. If you like this video and you want to find more videos like this, please hit subscribe below on the little bell. And then if you have friends that you recommend who might be interested, please recommend to them. And I hope you guys all enjoy this information. We'll see you very soon.